brake components cleaned up, new brake hose fitted, just waiting for some new pads, should be in the post tomorrow. Okay, so rear brake pads turned up today, fitted them in the caliper, so now it's going to be rear wheel on. Just grease up all the bits. Plenty of grease on the axle. Set that to one side. Wheel spacers. Okay, right, they're greased up, spacers on. Let's try and get it positioned. Okay, so primarily back wheel in. So just position this where I expect it to be when I do the chain. So chain length will need adjusting, because I've got a 42 tooth sprocket on the back, so when I put the chain on we'll need to adjust that for length. So I'll set that at 15 for now, and then that seems like a reasonable place to start. So there it is, rear wheel on. Okay, next job is the chain. Let's get the chain fitted. So I've gone with DID 525 VX3 black and gold. Now I'm going to have to change the length of it because I've used non-standard size sprocket on the rear, so I've used a smaller sprocket. I'll probably have to shorten the chain a bit. So let's offer it up, let's see what we need to do in terms of shortening, get it to the right size. We'll go from there. Got the join-in link there, a bit of grease in there, all the X-rings, so that's good. That's what I like about DID, they always give you the extra join-in link. Don't think that's true of all manufacturers, I'm pretty sure other chains that don't include that. So one bonus of buying DID, and obviously they're sort of industry recognised as probably the best chain out there. I know some of you will disagree with that, but that's been my experience. A lot of others that are great, obviously, but yeah, just have a soft spot for DID. So here we go, black and gold chain. Let's get it offered up and see what we need to do with it lengthwise. One thing when setting the chain up, I never quite know where to position the chain tensioner. So I never like to put it right back so that the wheel is fully forward, because I always think that's a bit unrealistic, and you never use that much of the tensioner anyway, not during normal service. So for this, you know, it runs from 5 through to 40, so reasonable for me is 15, and the wheel is sort of just forward of the halfway position. So as the chain wears a bit and we move the wheel back, you know, we stay around that middle position. So that's just my thinking. If anybody's got any better advice on that than my thinking, then yeah, let me know. I'm always willing to learn, you know, from others' experience. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do for now. Let's crack on and do it. So I've adjusted it in a bit more. So I've come into 11 on the adjuster, and I reckon that'll be about right. So let's get a link taken out, one link, and then we'll go from there. Just a bit of chain lube on there just to cool it down. Never want to get it too hot because the seals here in the next link along we're going to use. So we don't want to get them so hot that they are damaged or melt. So yeah, just going to manage the heat as best you can. Not convinced my Dremel's going to get through that. I'm thinking about using my bigger angle grinder, but of course you lose all chance of a delicate job with that, but I think that might be the better option. Let me have a look at it. Okay, so I did need to get the big angle grinder out in the end. The Dremel just wasn't up to it, and I've taken off the top of the rivet there. Don't know if you can see. Let me just move the camera. So yeah, hopefully you can see. Taken off the top of the rivet there, and now we're just going to push it out with the rivet tool. Kept it cool enough. It was still sort of cool enough to touch. Only just finished, and yeah, you can touch that okay, and the neighbouring one is good, so confident I haven't damaged the seals. Right, let's push that out with the rivet tool. So I've done a classic me, forgot to press the record button, so didn't get to show you the extraction of the pin, but using my chain tool extracted that pin from that link, separate it from here. This is the new link now. So next thing, chain on the bike, will rope the links together or wire the links together, and then I can fit this link in there and get it all riveted up on the bike. Right, I'll come back to you when I've got that set up. So that's it held with the locking wire, and now we get the link in. So this is the link inserted, seals in place, so just got the plate to go on. So that's in place. We'll just squash it on with the tool now, and then we will peen over the rivet heads, and that'll be that. Okay, so we'll get the tool in place with the flat plate fitting in there. So this is to squash the plate over initially. By eye, that looks pretty good. So we'll just extract and have a look. Let's check for free movement. We have that. Check for alignment of the plates. So looking from this end here, I would say that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So next stage is to, I want to say peen over the the rivets, but we're not peening, are we? We are just squishing. A little bit bigger, but not much. We're at 5.43, I would say. So maybe a little bit more squashing. Yeah, 5.49, 5.5, so happy with that. One more. Yeah, 5.46 maybe, so definitely expanded. I'm happy that that is on there and that is not coming off. We check for free movement. We've got free movement, rollers are rolling. We've got everything we need. Job done. Tension that, and that is the chain finished. So that is chain done. So of course once the chain's on, we want the chain guard on, don't we? So let's get the chain guard on. Simple as that, chain guard fitted. Okay, next job, gonna get some fairings on the bike I think. So I've cleaned them up, got them ready to go. They're now ready to go on. Start with the headlight fairing, got it here on the bench. That's all cleaned up, paint renovator on it. It's come up pretty well actually, quite pleased with it. So let's get that on the bike. How could you go, please? So, finally, after a bit of a struggle, I have all 4 bolts in place. And now it's just a case of nipping them up. Okay, headlight fairing on. At last, that took quite a while. Right, windscreen, let's get it in. Well, that's more or less on. Larger touring windscreen in place. Not sure how well you can see that. So yeah, very pleased with that. Just the top 2 bolts to do, which I'll do now, and then she's good. There you have it. Headlight fairing on, touring windscreen on. So she's looking pretty good, I would say. Nice to see her out in the daylight for a change. And we're getting closer. Beautiful. Let's crack on. Okay, so having got the headlight fairing on, let's continue in the same theme and start to build up this back end. So we're going to put on the rear fender with the tail light aperture in it, and then we'll put on the white fairing that sits under the luggage rack, and then finally we'll get the luggage rack base on top of that. So I've got a load of new parts to fit, new bolts, new collars, so this is going to look lovely. So let's get it all together. That's the rear fender piece, held in place by a couple of M8 bolts. Well, they've got little collars on them there as well. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little collar. So these are brand new OEM parts. Previous ones were a bit rusty. Just thread those in, but I'm just thinking about it now. I'm just going to grease them as well. Okay, so freshly greased. The problem with greasing them is you get greasy fingerprints over everything around it as well, but can't have everything on the second bolt. Not going to tighten that for a second because I've just got the lower bolts put in place as well, also with the collar. Once again, bit of grease to protect. Seen better days, this fender. It's got quite a few holes drilled in it, but it's okay. I've seen worse. Okay, rear fender on. Let's get the tail light in and the rear indicators on. Just threading the cable through and making sure we've got it the right way up, which we have. Okay. Okay, there we go. That's the unit itself installed. So I'm just going to try it because it looks like the lamp may have given up the ghost in one respect or another. So tail light's working. And brake light's working. Okay. It hasn't given up the ghost. Okay, tail light on. Okay, so right hand indicator. Okay, it's in place. Okay, two indicators in place. So full set of lights, tail light on, right hand indicators, front working as well, left hand indicators, front working as well, and brake light. All good. Okay, so we've threaded the wires around the back here. They come underneath and then they come out of this side here and then run along the frame here. And we've got the retaining clips, not really clips I suppose, they just bend them into place once you've got the wires in. So they go in there and then they go through these apertures here. Or this aperture, I think the aperture above there is actually for the panel fixing. The rubber goes in there and then the side panel will clip onto that, I think. So I think these all go through the lower aperture like so. And then I believe the route down there, just the side, nicely down the side of the resonance chamber, and then connect up the tail light and brake light is that green one. The indicators, both greens, go into the same connector there, so it's got two receptacles. That's the light blue to light blue, and then with this side green into the other side of that green, and then orange into there, and that is it. That is the wiring fully connected. And there we have it, tucked away nicely. I'll just come out a bit there. So yeah, cables run along there, through the hole, along there. We can use that just to hold that loop in place. And then they tuck nicely under the CDI cables there. Beautiful, very neat. Very happy with that. We'll do one more test of the lights, make sure they work, and then we'll call that job done. And we'll get the next fairing on. It's very exciting getting the fairings on, because it obviously means we're getting closer to that first ride. I'm so excited for that first ride. Right, let's get the fairings on. Okay, so next, sort of the rear white panel here, and then the luggage rack base on top of that. So let's get those two on. These have cleaned up pretty nice as well. Used a bit of the old paint restorer on these again, and come up a treat. Still showing a few signs of wear, but you know, that's normal on a bike of this age, and I quite like it, to be honest. Right, that just drops in place there, and then this sits on top, holds it all in place. Okay, 4 bolts, pre-greased. Didn't have the original bolts for this because it had a different setup at the rear here, with a Givy top box rack that sat on top, so it had different bolts in it. So these are all new bolts, new M8s, M8x40s. Okay, the original rack that used to be on here was a beautiful red thing. That disappeared. I never got that from the previous owner. That probably disappeared 35 years ago when the Givy rack was put on the back. So unfortunately that's gone. Difficult to get reproductions online, and they're very expensive. So I've got an RDO7 top rack, so I'll see if that fits, and if it does, I'll live with that. Okay, so the last part for this sort of back end ensemble, if you like, is the luggage rack. As I said before, it's an RDO 7. It's a genuine Honda piece, but it's an RDO 7 rack rather than an RDO 4. RDO 4 racks are like hen's teeth to get hold of, so we're going to go with this, held in place by 6 M6 bolts. This rack has accommodation for a tube under it there, sort of, you know, you can go in either side, so put a tube right through it. I'm not sure what that is for. Sits in like rubber bushes. If anybody's got any ideas, just let me know in the comments, because I have no idea what that's for. Okay, there we have it. Luggage rack fitted. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. Starting to look like a bike again now. Very excited. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. It really helps the channel, helps me to continue producing these videos and the tours that I do as well. Hope you'll join me for the next one. Getting ever closer to that first ride. Stay with me. We'll be there very soon. Take care.